Welcome to Talk of the Town, proudly brought to you by Uniquely Nelson. I'm your host, Chris Butler, and with me, Simon Duffy, the General Manager of Uniquely Nelson. Today, we're coming to you from Sublime Coffee on New Street. Another fantastic venue, beautiful backdrop. Thank you very much to Emma and Dan for the use of the venue. Joining us today is Gael Gordon, Manager of Business Assist. Fantastic to have you here, Gael.
Welcome.
Thank you to be here.
Yeah.
Thank
Nice
you
to see you again, because we all have met before.
We certainly have.
And you do fantastic there at Business Assist. But first of all,
because it's the first question, so we put first. Why do we do that?
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I don't know.
It's not the second question, so may as well be the first.
First one. Tell us about your background. Why do you sit in front of us today, Gail?
Oh, God, could be a long story.
Why? That's a big question. Why do you sit here today?
Right.
Wow.
You invited me to. Do you want me to start at the beginning?
Yeah.
I was born and raised in Rangiora and down in Canterbury, and still have two older brothers. Was there for, and I got married when I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. I'm not married now, and wouldn't do that again if I had my So yeah, at about the age of 18, my then husband and I moved into Christchurch because I was found Rangiora was just a little bit too small, and I wanted the big city stuff. So we were there for a few years, and then Steve got a promotion to go up to Auckland, and we'd both said we'd never want to leave Canterbury. It's sort of our home and all the rest of it. But he said, how about we go for 2 years? So we went for 2 years, which ended up being about 10 years for him and 30 years for me.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Wow.
I had 30 years in Auckland.
So what did you end up doing in Auckland? What kind of areas were you involved with? I guess from a work point of view, I suppose. Were you a mum as well? Is that right? No. So you didn't have to do that.
No, I didn't have to do that. What did I do? Let's just say my parents used to say I was very flaky when it came to employment.
Right.
Supportive parents?
Yeah,
Yep.
well, they kind of were. But my dad had had a business all his life, and mum worked for him, and my oldest brother went into a job for life, and so it was. And I didn't. I feel if you do 3 years somewhere, you should be getting your gold watch at some stage for long service.
Right.
Somehow, apparently, 3 years isn't the threshold. So I used to just jump around. So over the years, I've probably had over 30 jobs,
Right.
and all of those mostly in different areas. So I started off as an office junior. You were not even allowed to have them nowadays. That's apparently not professionally, what do you call it? Politically correct. So, but that was just reception and all sorts of things. And then I worked in an accounting firm. I moved through, over a period of time, I got introduced to a company that was doing exports. And when I got the job, I didn't actually even know what exporting was, because I was still relatively young. I'll blame that. And yet that was a real turning point for me, because I had grown up at that point thinking that my career would be either the nurse, the teacher, or the secretary. So I'd kind of gone down that secretarial path. And when I got this job with a really decent, really, really cool man, he started getting me involved with exporting, and I found it just so fascinating. I was working with shipping companies and learning about different countries. We had telexes that came in the morning with all the orders on the old telex machine, and so I loved that job with Ernie. And so he opened me up to, there was more potential in me, and there was more things that a woman can do, or a young girl at that stage. So one thing led to another. When Steve and I moved to Auckland, Ernie gave me a job up there initially as a salesperson, and I'd never been in sales either. So got out there selling plastic containers, which is what his company made. And then bit by bit, so many jobs, I won't go through them all because I can't remember them all. There was a period, if you look at my CV, it says I was settling into my new home in Auckland, which was like a 2-year period where I just went through job after job after job, because I was really struggling in Auckland to settle in. But eventually I got a job. I went and decided to do a degree. Before I did my degree, I got a job in exporting with a company that was a subsidiary of what was then Carter's something or other. And that was a really cool role for me, because I was 16. I was actually starting to do negotiations with overseas companies. We had a lot of business done in Papua New Guinea. And I learned a lot from a boss there. One of my biggest learnings came from him. And then bit by bit, I realised that I wanted to explore further. And every time I went for a job, it was at that stage where degrees were becoming kind of the thing you had to have,
yeah,
and I
right,
didn't have
yeah.
a degree.
Yeah.
So I would ring up for a job, and the moment they said, "What degree have you got?" I was like, "Well, I haven't, but," and they said, "Thanks." But so I went and did university when I was 27. So I left it and came out at 30 and got a job at Heinz Watties. And that was brilliant because that's when I got into managerial roles and exporting. And then from there, I can go through all the companies sometime later if you like. But spent about 15 years in the Pacific Islands and other countries doing exporting, and ultimately made my way through to general management roles in that area. And so.
And what degree did you do at university? It was like a business commerce? Or?
Yeah, it was a businesses. What was it? BBS business. God, it was a business one with. And I did a double degree. I did a double degree with international business and
right.
international business.
And so that tied
finance
into the exporting.
Yeah. It really set me off.
Yeah. So interesting that, because of the role that you have now, because you talk about the variety of roles that you've had, and then kind of settling on a career path of the exporting, but obviously doing many different types of roles, right through to management. And now you're in charge of an organisation that mentors businesses. So, and it's funny how, you go down that road in life and you're not too sure where it's going and what you're looking for, but there's kind of a reason perhaps why you ended up
sitting in front of us today.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes back to that comment my parents said about being flaky, I could see looking back as well what they meant was to say that I didn't stay very long anywhere, but I got exposed to multiple different business structures. I've worked for multinational, being Heinz Watties. I've worked for a very, very large private owned business that worked out of both Fiji and New Zealand. I've worked for small businesses. I've had my own businesses and industries. I mean, I've sold best breast milk to breast milk powder, at least, to Pacific Islanders and corned beef and all sorts, you name it, I've done it. So when I started here, particularly when I do the consultations at work, those one-to-one consultations, it sort of twigged with me after a few months here that this is why I'm not flaky. All of that background, there's people come and they go, what do you know about such and such? And I go, well, actually, I've got a little bit over here, I've got a bit here, so I can pretty much wing my way through most things. And it wouldn't be that way for me if it wasn't for my flaky background. So it's actually been a really worthwhile one. So
it did have a purpose in the end.
It has had a purpose, yeah.
I guess the question is then, so did you ever end up north before you came to Nelson in this type of role, or is this the first time you've taken on like a business support role?
Yeah, it's first time.
Right.
Yeah. So the last few jobs I had in Auckland, one I had a recruitment company of my own for a period of time, and then I was general manager with a very large company that exported, and I ended up being the general manager with a business that does commercial board blasting.
Oh, right.
So I had a team of Pacific Island guys and these big fancy trucks and all sorts of things, and somewhere in there, I think I was doing some consulting somewhere in a business there as well. So,
So what attracted you? Well, why Nelson? Was it the role or was it the place? And what led you to this role in Nelson?
Well, when I first got to Nelson, I knew only 3 people. And I also had been working with a client up in Auckland that I was basically giving his company a bit of a shakeover. And so where am I going with this? I was just leaving Auckland when he said, could you come and do this work for us? So I thought, well, I'm going to take the opportunity. So I was going backwards and forwards to Auckland every fortnight for as long as it was until we got to the lockdowns and stuff. And what was your first question? Because I'm still.
Well, it was really,
Yeah,
really, how did you end up here?
Yeah,
What
right,
was the
really-
catalyst? of-
the catalyst. Well, the catalyst was I'd had enough of Auckland.
Right.
And
right.
I'd 6 years before I moved down, I had said in my mind, I'm ready to leave Auckland, but I wasn't going to rush that. I wanted to make sure it was everything lined up.
Yeah.
So 6 years later, I'd done my dust dash with 30 years of Auckland.
So it was more about you had a conscious effort of coming to Nelson,
Yes.
and then looking for the role. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I kept working with this client, or another couple of clients as well came on board in Auckland. So for that first 2 years was all I did was go back.
Bit of a commute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when the biggest client came to a natural end, I'd sort of said to myself, I'd really like to work part-time. I don't want to do full-time. I'd like to use my business background and basically live, close to where I work. So literally, I don't know, 2 weeks later, up pops an email, and it was from Nelson Tasman Business Trust,
Wow.
and they were advertising the job. So I got hold of Sarah, who I'd met previously, and just said, "Do you think it's worth me applying?" And she kind of went, "Yes, please." So
Fantastic.
yeah. And it's been a huge learning because I have never worked in not-for-profits.
Yeah.
And they're quite a lot different from commercial. So it's been the first 18 months, well, particularly the first 12 months, was really, really tough.
But they must have seen that diversity and that experience you've had across a wide range of organisations.
Yeah, I think they could see that. They've
Yeah.
also been a little bit desperate. They've been advertising for a little while, perhaps.
I'd be taking the first answer.
Okay, okay, let's do that as well.
Tell us about Business Assist and what it provides. Because I think our organisation is very similar to a certain extent. About supporting businesses to be successful.
Yeah.
But just a bit more detail about Business Assist.
Well, it's been around for 27, 30 years or 30 years sort of thing. And it's stuck to its original motto, I guess, that it is looking after small to medium-sized businesses in the region. What we offer is unashamedly for business people. So we offer business mentoring. So that's one of our key options. And I really believe in that mentoring program. It can be the difference between people succeeding and not succeeding. Then there's the consultations that we offer, which are free. All our services are actually free, except the business mentors. There's a one-off registration, but 12 months of free mentoring. The consultations is the bit I love the most. I do those, and it's 1-to-1 for an hour. And when I first started, I used to get a list, a note that would say what they were coming in to talk about. So I'd get all prepped up and ready to go. And then one day I thought, bugger this, I'm going to just throw that away and let it just be organic. Yeah. And the moment I did that, I felt that the delivery or the work that we were doing became a lot more authentic, because I wasn't going, I'm all prepared for this.
Preconceived ideas.
Yeah. I'd usually just start there and just say, hey, look, you'd like to come today, so where would you like to start? And then the conversations go all around the place. So it's...
Yeah, I agree with that, because, I've done quite a bit of one-on-one, and, in the earlier days, I'd be quite structured in the way. I've got some questions for you, and so on and so forth. And I remember one person coming up to me because I gave a presentation somewhere, and they were at that, and they came up to me and said, that's what I wanted. And it was only this one particular thing. And the lesson I learned was, first of all, ask them what they want to get out of it.
Yeah.
So what do you want to get out of today? And it might not be the whole picture, and you can see that they need the whole picture, but today they just need help with this.
That's as much as they can take that day.
Yeah, that's right. And that gets them forward, but then it opens up other questions for them, of course. Yeah, it's interesting.
And there's times I'll have clients that honestly can go for 35 minutes. One was about that, where they just dump. They come in, and the moment I've given that permission, because I've said, what did you come in here for today? Yeah. And then there'll be, just before they're leaving, there'll be that little nugget that does pop out that you can go, actually, now let's just take you back to here and da-da-da. If I'd gone and this is how it's going to be, they would miss those nuggets. Yeah,
interesting. So tell us about Business Assist then. You do the mentoring, but can you tell us just slightly outside of that? I know mentoring is a big part of that. What I'm curious about is the business trust and why that was set up originally. and there is some funding from council to help support those things, but there's also that relationship with Business New Zealand. So outside of the mentoring side, is there other things that you get involved in, or is that the main purpose of it?
Those sort of offerings of the mentoring, the consultations, the networking events that we do,
Yes.
that's a core thing. We do 3 to 4 networking events every month. And most of them, well, they're designed to just obviously bring those communities together, the business people, get great feedback from that. And we are currently doing some workshops for not-for-profits, for workshop series. But in terms of the actual businesses, or it was actually Nelson Tasman Business Trust is its legal name. It has, I think I said earlier, it's really stuck to its original desire to help small to medium-sized business get that foot up.
So that was that a bunch of private people that recognised a need and then put a proposal to council?
Yep.
Is that how it worked? Or
I should know my history. But
I mean, it goes back a long way, obviously.
As I understand it, there was a councillor, or there might have been 2 councillors, and a couple other businessmen that got together. So they between their own networks and things, they managed to get it going. And it's still going. It's a good little operation.
What do you think currently are the biggest challenges for businesses? Because it's interesting to say, well, there's a lot of challenges right now because of what we've all been through in the last 3 or 4 years. But in general, what do you think the biggest challenges for businesses are? What is there a common denominator that you pick up on for businesses? What's things
there's probably 2 main things that I kind of sense when I'm having these consultations. And one is that there's a number of people coming through wanting to start up a new business. And it's not my place to say, I wouldn't do it right now. I'm not, that's not my role. So I support them through that, but go, oh my God, that takes a bit of courage. So there's a good number of those. That's what's going on now. So whether it's people that have had a job and realised their job's not going to go where they want it to, and they think it's going to be really easy to be a business person, whatever their dream. And the other main thing I'm seeing is people that are getting a little bit more anxious around where are we going at the moment and what do they need to do, particularly things like how do they start getting more visibility in the community? How do they get out and meet more people because they perhaps haven't really paid attention to some of that when they've been running their business, and now they can see one way out of, or to stay through how many years we've got of this sort of environment we're in.
Do you find too where there's a certain generational gap, with some of our businesses, the difference between putting everything in print and radio, and some companies you just go digital and working their Facebooks and working their platforms, is that becoming, with certain people who've been in business a long time in the digital age, and then a lot of people find that challenging, it's difficult because it's technical. Are you finding you're coming across more and more of that?
I'm probably the worst person there because I'm a dinosaur.
No, it's called Techno Desert because I'm one.
I'm definitely the dinosaur. Most of the people that are coming in are pretty savvy on all that sort of stuff. Most of our clients, I don't know their ages because we obviously don't ask, but they're mostly probably in that 30 to 45 sort of age bracket. So they're up
to speed with it.
Unlike me.
So that being the case, then what is there a variety of challenges, or is there a common theme?
There is probably a common theme that how do we grow our business and whatever environment we're in. It's probably one of the ones that does.
So it's not all about systems. It's more so awareness and trying to find your market. Right. Interesting. So we've talked about business challenges. What about your challenges as an organisation?
Funding.
That's a good place to start. It's never ending. I've got to be a bit careful what I say because I don't know who will end up watching this.
That's right. All the funders are wonderful.
Well, to be fair, actually, they have been very fair. We've been very fortunate with both Nelson City Council and TDC have supported us again in this round because if they had pulled the pin or reduced the funding, it'd be a whole different ball game. But they've actually, they've done they're good. They're supporting us. Rata Foundation's been fabulous supporting us with this workshop series, and it's been a learning for me about going out and knocking on people's doors because
Yeah.
I've never done that. The commercial world, you tend to not go begging on someone's door.
Yeah.
So I've had to learn how to do that. I'm not sure I'm there all the way at the moment, but we've been, what I wanted to do was, and it's not rocket science, but when I got there, I saw an instance where I didn't think of the way it was approached was professional enough. So I thought, well, I'm not going to ever go for funding with that, just an expectation that money will come to us. So I sort of played around for a little while and I thought, well, what can we actually kind of sell? And we've got these different events and so I thought, well, I'll get and see about selling naming rights. And for me, that was more comfortable going in to say, hey, how would you like to have your name plastered everywhere on whatever event? Instead of going, can I have some money, please?
Yeah.
So yes, I've done that with 3 of our events and looking for perhaps one more to come on board with one of our events.
One more needed,
Yes, one
please.
more
Thank
needed.
you, people.
Yes, we're saving the best for last.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay.
So I was just going to say some of the challenges when you're not with when you're in a not-for-profit that you have never done before. There's a lot of agencies that are involved. So I found that really hard to even work out who everybody was. We used to have on the whiteboard initially, myself and Freya, who was working with me at that stage, we started writing up all these acronyms. Like we had UN, and I was thinking, what the UN's doing here? And then I realised that's you.
The peacekeeping corps, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had our white hats on. And
Blue.
blue hats, are they?
Blue hats.
White vehicles, yeah.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
UN.
Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting thing. And that's something when I first came on board with Uniquely Nelson on the board was I actually said to the CEO, where do we fit in? How do we fit in? You know, but actually when you break it down, the CEO at the time actually was involved in setting up Uniquely Nelson. There are these core niches that each of us don't particularly focus on. So, you know, we have particular core, Chamber has a particular core that they do. NRDA is quite specific about their role. And then you've got your niche as well.
Yeah.
So, and that's the challenge for us as organisations, because it seems that we're quite splintered, but in actual fact, we've got to keep communicating and working together on these things, because I think we're all good at our particular part, and if we can make that the most effective, then it's a good gain for all. I mean, it's not, people say, where can I go to get help? Man alive, here's the list. But actually we can cross refer because we're really good at our particular niche, and that's the way that's what I've learned. It is difficult at times because everyone talks about Nelson silos, but I just think that what the silos have to do is talk more.
Take the silos down.
And just cross promote more and not be afraid to work with each other and those kind of things. Even though funding is a challenge, sometimes you might be hitting up the same sponsors, but hopefully there's enough for all, and we're getting what we need to achieve what we need.
I think there is enough, and we're fortunate. We've got a good relationship with the Chamber. Ellie and I meet up perhaps twice a year just to have a bit of a yarn, see what's going on. And I know the other agencies reasonably well now. Do a bit of work with DIA and I remember back. You will remember the Digital Boost program. That it had its troubles in some areas. I'm not normally this politically correct, so I'm trying. But that was one of those instances where we did all come together.
Yeah, we did.
I could see on our business assist on its own wasn't going to be able to accomplish it. We had Richmond Unlimited, who was never going to be able to make a cent out of doing it. You came on board, I think, as well. Yep. So, and then you were helping us to do all the facilitating. So, that initially was going to be all my project because we got it given to us by NRDA, and yet it was like, this isn't going to work if it's just. This doesn't, and yet it worked. And when we did, we kind of made it work.
That's right. Out of that also, Golden Bay got on the phone and said, who are you using for this and this? Because they had individuals, so they actually leveraged some of the presenters and stuff as well.
Sense.
So
it does. All to be sort of going, well, this is my microphone and that's yours, and I can't possibly ever sit near yours. So I don't think we can do that.
Don't compete against each other, complement each other.
Exactly. I agree. Totally agree.
So in your spare time, Gael, what do you do to enjoy yourself here in Nelson?
I like my outdoors. I do a reasonable amount of hiking. That was one of the reasons I came down here. When I was leaving Auckland, I decided, I could have moved anywhere, and I kept going to other places. And I thought, well, Nelson, because grew up and spent a lot of time in Nelson when I was a kid. So yeah, seeing the beauty here and the amount of tracks that are pretty much on my doorstep. Literally, so I have got one that you can go up the hill directly from my driveway. So that was one of my main things. That I love just being around the beach. Get out on the bike every now and then. I'm not a particularly good cyclist, but I do enjoy the flat stuff. Nothing with too much hairpin bends in it, because I have my own unique way of getting around those bends. If it's nice and warm and dry, particularly in summer, I like getting up into my little veggie garden. So just the basic simple stuff. And I'm at the moment, you guys are probably going to hear it first, I'm in the process of writing a book.
Writing a book? Writing a book.
Writing a book. Yeah,
and the life and times of, or is it on a particular subject?
It's going to be on a particular subject. I think I can probably mention it.
Flaky businesses.
You had a good career being flaky. It's a book. I haven't got the working title or the title fully right yet, but it's about the importance of being present to people, like really present, not just saying "G'day, how you doing" and walking away. And through the book, I'm weaving in through a story of a real life story that took place in a business I was working in about 8 years ago, where just had I stuck to what I was meant to do, what the owner of that business had asked me to do to this chap, which was to terminate him, if I'd gone down that path, I wouldn't have realised until sometime later that he would have probably killed himself. So I learned a lot in that, because I was very much a hiring and firing girl. I'd been hired to do the hiring and firing, and I could be quite brutal about it when I was doing it. And it was a real wake-up call for me to realise that there's different ways of doing things. So I'm building I'm going to flesh that out in other different examples as well.
Look forward to that.
That's going to be interesting. Yeah, right.
I've been working with a book coach, so she's got me through I thought you just started writing, and because I've tried to write a book for about, I don't know, quite a number of years, couldn't work out how to get it all to fit together, and so I put it to one side, and then I heard about book coaching, so I found myself a book coach in Auckland, and she's just helped me go right through. And I didn't realise the first thing you had to work on was your back cover of the book. I'm going, no, I just want to start at the beginning. Isn't that what Genesis did? At the beginning. But yes, she started you with our book cover, the back cover. Had to get the wording on that first, and work out what's your why and all sorts of things. But now I've gone through that, and she let me loose this week to say I can start writing my manuscript.
Awesome.
So I think it's still got about a year or so away, but
right. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, look forward to it.
Yeah.
So you work right in the city. I don't know, do you live near the city?
I'm in Edify.
Oh, okay. So not too far out.
Yeah, no.
But so two things. One is what you enjoy about working in the environment, what you like about Nelson. You've mentioned outdoors, but also you'd have been right amongst it with the talk of redevelopment. That's the buzzword at the moment, and everyone talking about what we can do with Nelson. So any thoughts from your office? Have you been chatting it around the coffee table?
No, but I'll go back to the first question about where I live and what I like about it, because that might give me more time to think about the second question. What I love about Nelson, full stop. I mean, when I came out of Auckland 30 years, and one of the reasons why I wanted to leave was I could see the infrastructure was just not keeping pace with what was coming with influx of people. So for me to be able to get up in the morning and I drive my car for 7 minutes roughly down to the corner of Trafalgar Street, where I park free of charge. Don't tell everybody, I don't want that area being taken up. And then I've got about a 6-minute walk to the office. Whereas for me in Auckland, there was, and I used to, when I house I was in when I last left there, I think I was about 7 kilometres, and I could sometimes do an hour of sitting in traffic for that 7 to 10 kilometres, whatever it was. So for me, that was just. But having said that, also you drive around the waterfront and you've got the mountains, and so it's the whole package. It's
So you're quite happy with the way things are at the moment?
Yeah, yes. What would you like in the next 5 or 10 years?
Would you like to see anything?
Yeah. What would you like?
I mean, you don't have to. I mean, it's fine.
I think the challenge that Nelson's got, and there's probably lots of them, that I don't want to go into a whole lot of them, but I think it's that I chuckle because when I was flying backwards and forwards from Auckland, when I first started here, sometimes I'd come in on a Friday night flight. It would be the last one in, which they'd stay. And in the middle of winter, you got in, I think it was about 8:30, and I would have a bit of a giggle that when I was driving from the airport back to home, I was the only person on the road.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh my
Oh,
God, I
yeah,
must be
yeah.
I'm a party girl. I'm out at 8:30 on a Friday night. And it's just how do you liven Nelson that little bit more, particularly more so in the winter.
Yeah.
And I think I don't envy you guys with what your challenges.
Yeah, well, I remember I live close to Fremantle,
Mhm.
you know, and that was open till, geez, I don't know. You could go to a restaurant at midnight, 1 o'clock,
Right.
and then you think, oh, maybe they open late in the cafes, but if you're up early, 5 or 6, all the cafes are open.
Oh, okay.
You know, warmer weather, but they were like that in winter, but slightly milder conditions there, but a lot of heaters outside and outside covers and stuff like that. So I think that's some of the design work. I know there's some people that are experimenting and putting in some ideas around design. You know, how can we perhaps, like New Street has come up a lot where we are now, about how can potentially at the odd time can we close the street off and turn it into more of a outside market feel, or that kind of stuff. And you know, the challenges are, you've got obviously parking always comes up, that's a biggie, getting it out of the city, and then the compromises, but then how do we make some of the streets more friendly for people to hang out in, and to extend some of the restaurants and that kind of stuff. And my observation in Australia, it was just more heating. So in the middle of the winter, as long as you had a heater quite nearby, you often did go outside. And
What was the population of Fremantle?
well, it was smaller than Nelson, but it was, you know, the wider community was probably about the same size. It was probably 40,000, 50,000 around that area. And obviously it was on the main right next to Perth, so it had a lot going in and out. But I just remember, you know, if in Nelson we wanted to go out for a meal in the middle of winter, or even if we wanted to go, a lot of people talk about wanting to get an afternoon coffee.
Yes.
They're not open.
Good luck. And just early in the morning.
I do know Sublime open till late afternoon. So there you go. But so that I'd get a lot of feedback about that. Now, obviously, there's the economics of it, because the cafes are saying, well, there's no one around.
Yeah.
So which comes first, the chicken and the egg? So I guess part of that design process, that working with council to allow you to spill out a bit more, the opportunity to in the middle of winter to have more heating around the place, that kind of stuff. It's all in that design process. But you know, it's heartening, because when we did have that seminar recently, people, we've talked about a lot of ideas until we're blue in the face, but the one thing that came out of that was everyone saying, come on, let's just do it. Now, the majority of buildings are owned privately. So, you know, it's not just the council. And interestingly, in these podcasts, the feedback we've been getting saying, the council, that's all good. Yeah, we need to look at them. But what are we doing?
It's easy to point
in our
finger,
own
isn't
backyard,
it?
you know. So what could we do in our own backyard? Now they do, you know, sometimes the regulatory stuff, if you want to push out a bit further into the street or make a bit more of a, you know, that sort of atmosphere, then obviously, you know, there's quite a few brick walls, and that's the challenge in there really with council, is we need to free that up more to say, well, instead of, well, no, you can't do that. It's okay. Well,
working together.
Yeah. How can we? Yes, we can.
Yeah.
We can do that. We've just got to think about a few things. So, and you know, so anyway, it's heartening, and we're just hopefully in September, everyone's looking at getting back together again, and hopefully that means, you know, a few things on the table. Word came out about a development on Hardy Street. Oh, Bridge Street.
That's
Bridge
I was
Street.
about to say, I think that would be brilliant.
Well,
if it does like the drawings looks, if it comes out looking like that.
Yeah. So there are things happening. The new Suter building, you know,
like the one on Bridge Street with Tin Lion.
Yeah,
it's not just what the building, but it gives you that there's companies willing to invest in the CBD. There is a future for Nelson.
Well, it was kind of inferred that, you know, we went to that seminar and people are talking about doing things, and I'm sure they had long-term plans to do it, but they came out thinking, all right, well, we're going to put our money where our mouth is. And so that was the whole thing. If we can have a positive attitude and be open to ideas, then that opens up the opportunity for investors. And those guys have decided to take a punt and do it. But I think it'll work. you know, it'll be vibrant, it will lift the place, and it will be full. I think we will get people in it. So
all the ground floor is already leased.
oh, there you go.
Oh, cool.
On the on the pavement.
Yep.
The pavement's all leased.
Yeah.
And the cranes are going up in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
So they're building up.
Yeah, Nelson's got so much going for it. So it's really just matter, finding out what, like you say. And I think having that simple start of having more heating outside, because sitting outside having an evening meal in the middle of winter is really lovely. If you've got your little blankie on your knees and you've got a fire on a heater behind you.
Well,
you go to Queenstown and you'll see people doing that.
They
They go
that
there to
all the
do
time.
it.
That's right. And we say, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
In Scandinavia and it's -10.
Yeah. Yeah. But
And they're there for babies.
Yeah.
They always say there's no such thing as bad weather, it's bad clothing.
There you go.
There you go. That's right. That's right. All right. Look, we really appreciate you coming in, Gail.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
fantastic.
It's
And
fun.
it's actually been really great to hear more about your background, because we've met you and we've worked with you, but hadn't realised the plethora of experience that you have had. So it's great to get some background on you, and also fantastic with the work that you're doing with Business Assist and helping all those businesses out. It's well needed, and it's great that you guys are there. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that.
Mm.
And thank you for what you guys are doing. This and everything else as well. No.
All right. Well, thank you very much,
Thank you.
Gail, and to Business Assistant. Thanks, of course, to the team right here, Sublime Coffee on New Street, for providing this wonderful venue. You can catch this podcast along with others at uniquelynelson.co.nz, also on talknelson.co.nz, and on Spotify. Just look for MBS Talk Nelson. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to join us next time for more from Talk of the Town. This is Chris Butler and Simon Duffy signing off. Until next time, Nelson.
Stay assist. Uniquely.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
Stay assist.
That's it.